Mental Health Podcast. We are still discussing COVID and mental health. Today we have with us my good friend, Mrs. Meghna Pradeep, clinical psychologist. In our last podcast, we discussed how young adults have to go out, work, and they have this fear of bringing the virus home and to their older parents or in-laws and relatives who they live with. Today we're discussing the other side. We are going to talk about what goes on with the older people, the older generation who has been cooped up inside, who's been cooped up at home, who are the true vulnerable population as far as this virus goes. What are they feeling? The fear, the frustration, and we're going to discuss all of that with Meghna, who, lucky for us, has also been dealing with a lot of geriatric patients due to her work with the Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder Society. So, thanks for joining us, Meghna.
Most welcome.
So, firstly, as far as COVID goes, the older generation is definitely the more vulnerable population. And apart from us, they themselves are also very worried about how vulnerable they've suddenly become. That fear of mortality has set into them. And they are worried about the virus, contracting the virus. There's all kinds of WhatsApp and, forwards and a lot of information about hospital beds available nahi hai, someone went on a ventilator and didn't come off. So there is a lot of fear in them also. So how should we help them deal with it, or how can they deal with it themselves?
Yeah, I think like you said, the fear of mortality is very real, and now since the cases have been really increasing, they kind of hear it from really close people who they know might have contracted it or died from it. So it's a very rational and real fear. Yet, I think what is really important to understand is that in the kind of situation that we are in, economically and of course in the sense of the pandemic, that you can't really tell how, when and who gave you the virus, even if it does happen in your own family. What you really actually can control in your hands, which is your own personal health. To keep a good diet, a good physical exercise regime going on, your sleep routines being, in place, your medications, your immunity. These are things that you can control. Your mood,
Yeah.
So when it comes important. To, isolation for this long, and especially those who've not been living with their children, whose source of connection was actually stepping out and going for a walk with a friend or, someone in the park. These are people who are again at higher risk of anxiety and depression, which is anyway, on the rise. So I think very important is, again, other than setting a routine, keeping your connections alive as much as possible, keeping your mood in check, your irritability, your happy state of mind, or fears. What you really need to understand about fear is that it's a strong emotion which tends to spiral really quickly. So it can be one thought that kind of spirals into multiple thoughts that will get you panicked. So I think following a relaxation method, it could be part of your yoga regime, it could be part of breathing exercises that you do otherwise. So getting into breathing exercises as a regular, where you don't see the results. You might not see the results immediately, but you will see them over time. So this is something, proven technique, of course, relaxation techniques are proven techniques. And that can be one simple thing that you do before you go to sleep maybe, or you do at any point in the day where you find some time. So I think that's very important. Again, like I said, the fear of the pandemic is very real. So it's not really go away anytime soon. But you have to kind of maintain a balanced attitude towards it, and yet be careful about how you are managing your own personal self and routine.
And I think also fact checking a lot of information that comes your way. If you have a lot of time on your hands, the WhatsApp forwards, even I get scared sometimes when I read them, in spite of having the adequate knowledge to know that they're not true. But so I think fact checking that information with your doctors or with whoever you trust is pretty important. So what really is out there.
So if the fear of so since the fear of contracting the illness is, again, like you said, very real, you can keep a few of these things that come on WhatsApp. Sometimes actually very valuable, plasma donor lists and those kind of things. It seems a little extreme to keep those things. It seems like something that would scare you further, but it might actually be something that can be useful. useful. So keeping your GP or your, if you have a doctor in the building or anybody close by, those people in touch with, try to get in touch with people who actually can give you the right information, like safety net, for example. Instead of going and feeling it, you want to something that gives you information from a credible source. So these are things that yes, we need to be a little mindful of, I think.
Mindfulness.
Time, honestly, if it is something that is really making it very difficult for you to get through your day, then it might be time to seek help as well. So that's
true. Another emotion apart from fear or anxiety is really coming up in this age group also is frustration. We have restricted their movement, we've restricted their lifestyle. Small things like, probably going to buy the sabzi in the market or going to the bank. Very routine things that they considered normal are not happening for them. And they're very small things. So even they wonder, itna hi to kaam hai, itna to karne do. And, they're really cooped up in the same house, same four walls. And in the metros, we do have a lot of space constraints. So that frustration is rising in them too. And they, want to do a lot of things impulsively, just like the younger generation. And how should we go about that? How do we deal with that?
Yeah, again, see, it's a tough thing to manage because, like you said, this is an age group that has been active all their adult life and that's still active in their old. And it's really difficult for them to contain themselves at home. But I think as you've discussed a little earlier in another podcast as well, that wherever it is okay for them to step out, maybe when there isn't a lot of social gathering around, there aren't crowds around, you just go down for some fresh air, go for a walk and come back. I think something like that can still be permitted unless and until you're really immunocompromised or you have very severe comorbidities. Then I think
you really do need to take care. That's true.
Yeah, then you really need to be careful. Otherwise, I think you can still allow a little bit. The other thing is, one of the reasons for frustration is because, first of all, see, initially when the whole lockdown and everything happened, adapted to it quite well. But now, with it like being 6 months ongoing and now it just seems endless, it just seems like it's not going to end. And now their mobility is so constricted that so I think very important to again keep yourself engaged, to keep boundaries in place as much as possible. Keep social connections, people who you used to meet, people who you would like to talk to alive on, keep those connections alive as much as possible. I think support groups are a way to connect with people where if you feel that you're really unable to handle your frustrations and you really want a way to speak to someone but you're unable to at home because everybody else is equally baggaged, then you might find a good way to engage yourself in a support group where this generally conducts it, and that's a great way to connect with people who might be from the same age group, who might be from the same gender,
Right.
I think one important thing is a lot of times, people have given up things that they were pursuing as part of their interest, which involved them going out of the house. So if you guide a little bit with technology and if you're able to, as a young adult, help them out, then I think getting a way for them to feel a sense of achievement, to feel a sense of interest and accomplishment, even in the things that they were going out and doing, but they now have to do at home or they can manage to do at home. That might be helpful. So something that really gives them that, because a lot of times, a lot of these people have put a lot of things on hold through their adult life, thinking that they would do it.
Yeah, definitely. My parents wanted to travel this year and they're just stuck,
So it just seems like, oh my God, this is never going to end and I'm never going to get to do what I want to do.
Absolutely.
Because, honestly, since we're speaking about frustration, I have known in my contact with people as well, there are people who are living here. I mean, the parents are living here and the kids are abroad. They're going to have kids, like they're going to have kids. So parents are not going to be able to travel to see those grandkids. So those things missing out on but it's for everybody's best interest that we are restricted to it.
I know. Yeah. It is a global crisis. I mean, it is what it is. We can't really, we can only control our reactions to the situation that we are in right now.
So, you wouldn't want to put someone else in a pickle, and you wouldn't put someone else to have to manage you when you are, right. if at all you end up carrying the virus.
Right.
So,
right.
I think there is a bigger picture that everybody needs to be a little aware of, that everybody needs to keep in mind, and that's it.
So the other problem again is that we are seeing stress levels skyrocket, with the economy, with people losing their jobs, people are working on salary cuts. So there is a lot of stress in the working adult, age group, and a lot of that stress is carried home on a good day, on when we were normal also, this stress would be carried home, and usually it is vented out on the vulnerable age group, either the children or the older adults, or we've seen cases of domestic abuse also really spike through this period. So maybe it's not physical abuse as far as older people go, but emotionally or verbally, people do tend to say things to them which would hurt them, which would stay with them for a long time. And this is a time when we are all particularly sensitive, and we are all in the same place at the same time. So how should this problem be dealt with as far as verbal or emotional abuse in a way goes?
Well, I think, like I said, everybody is trying to do their best in this pandemic. Whatever age group you belong to, everybody is accommodating themselves, their own struggles, along in trying to sync it with someone else's, struggles to balance it out in a family. So it's difficult for everybody. But I think, again, like I said earlier, the one thing is the bigger picture that everybody is trying to do their best. The other thing is, which I think is personally very important, is two things. One is boundaries. The other is communication. How you communicate, being aware of how you communicate. Okay, if you've been mean to your parents today, or you've been mean to someone at home today, but are you mindful about it? Are you aware that what you said is not okay? Are you okay with apologizing for it, or are you just going to let it go and not acknowledge it? Are you going to vice versa for the elderly person as well? I mean, if that person has been mean to you, are they being mindful about it as well? It's not, it has to be mutually, of course, and the same applies to kids. So I think being aware of how you have reacted, to just kind of take a little check at the end of the day to say, okay, was I really going out of line there, because that might have been unnecessary. So taking a little bit of that into consideration, understanding that being assertive is important where it's required, saying no is also important. Okay, where something need not be given to you in hand, where you can go up and take it by yourself. Maybe that's okay, where you say no to something like that. Similarly, the other way around, sometimes what happens is the young adults are working from home. The kids and the grandparents are really engaged with each other, and the grandparents kind of burn out, after a point, because it's difficult for them to constantly managing. And there are no meals. So I think sometimes they might want a little bit of time off, which they don't really get, or they might feel bad to about it because their kids are working all the time. But I think if it's really necessary to keep your balance and your sanity, I think it's fine. Again, the other end of it is the young adults, where you might not want to belittle someone for saying, oh, you're just listening to music. Like, I'm working, but you're just listening to music. Or I'm working, but you're just reading a newspaper. So, but it might matter to that person. So I think these things are very small things which we might want to keep in check. Might also want to be open to the idea that some things that our parents and our, that generation is saying to us is actually wise and actually sensible. So to not kind of just dismiss it entirely. And I also think one very important thing for young adults especially is that you need to be open on all channels, whether it's your employer, whether it's your employees, whether it's your kids, your parents. If kids, of course, if they're in a need, they understand. Because sometimes I feel like we're not very comfortable with communicating with our work colleagues, and since we are working from home, too many things are getting mixed up. So if some things come up You might want to inform your colleague or your employer about it, but it's actually necessary to inform your employer. So I just think that everybody of all parties need to be aware that yes, there is a lot going on.
Yeah.
It might not
And
be pertinent to my
clarity of-
work as an employer.
Clarity of thought and clarity of communication, both are pretty important.
Yeah. And on all fronts, because I don't think, like say for example, someone comes up with me today, I don't want to be in a position where I feel like I can't tell my employer because he or she might not understand. But I would actually, I did want him or her to understand, because this is not a usual scenario. So a scenario.
It is. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And sometimes, elderly people need help with things that you can't always explain to someone else. So, say for example, if someone is bedridden, you want to just take them and take them to the toilet, for example, and you might not want to say something like that to your employer, but it's required. Like you need to do it. So I need to kind of not be shy about a lot of things. Be very open on all fronts, like I said. Where boundaries are required, you don't want your parents to interrupt. Say if you're having a meeting or you're having a Zoom session, then expect them to understand. That is also equally important. So just retaining the balance of the household in a sense, where not just everybody is happy, everybody is managing.
We're all attempting to do that, and I think 6 months has been a long time. I mean, people are all trying their best. We're only attempting with this podcast to help people try and understand these issues a little better, so that maybe they can, if even 2 people go home and they're extra mindful or a little aware of how everyone else at home is dealing with this, and everyone is doing the best they can. I think we've pretty much done our job. So key takeaways from this
is basically, I think recently in my conversations with a few people, few patients, I've seen that our expectations haven't changed, in the sense that we are in an unusual situation. We are isolating and socially home, working from home, whatever. But when it comes to schooling a kid, for example, your expectations are the same. My kid should learn this much at this age. Even if it is from an online class, even if it is not actually from going to school and coming back. I think those kind of expectations weigh on you as young adults, and that might get transferred on to your family members at home, your elders or whatever. I think it's very important to have a sense of closure and say that, okay, my kid is not going to a regular school. He's actually giving an open book exam. So let's be a little bit casual about it. And your academics is not the only thing you learn, right? You learn to also adjust to so many things otherwise. So I think there has to be a certain alteration in our expectations versus what is reality.
A
little bit of that.
So anyway, I'm going to try and talk about our key takeaway points. One is mindfulness. Second is seeking out the right information. Third is boundaries, not just for us, for them too, so that nobody is intruding and getting into each other's space, which is a huge problem nowadays. And of course, I think a brilliant point that you brought up about tweaking your expectations. These are tough times. This is not normal. This is all new normal, as we love to call it. So tweaking your expectations and working around that. Everything is not going to work at 100% as it was before. And we need to understand that and accept that, and then make our decisions accordingly. So I think this was a fun chat, but this is all we have for this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meghna, for always making time for us. See you soon on another podcast for Safety Net.